Good afternoon, class. We're on lesson 51, multiplying by two-digit numbers. So let's get started. Our objective for today is to use the multiplication algorithm to multiply a two-digit or three-digit number by a two-digit number. Estimate a product using compatible numbers, multiply dollars and cents by a two-digit number, and also we are going to be able to use the distributive property to find the product of a single factor and the sum of two numbers. All right, so your vocabulary is, go ahead and just write this part down right here. It might be good to write this example below, just so you kind of understand what the distributive property is. And then I'll explain it later on in the lesson. And then these are partial products. When multiplying using a pencil and paper, a product resulting from multiplying one factor by one digit of the other factor, the final product is the sum of the shifted partial products. And I'll talk about more of that during the lesson. Here's your joke. This one's by Emerson. What do you call a deer with no eyes? And then I have no idea. All right. Here's our new concept. So our concept for today is that when we multiply a two-digit number, we really multiply twice, okay? And we multiply by the tens and we multiply by the ones. Here we have 43 times 12. Since 12 is 10 plus 2, really, we may multiply 43 by 10 and 43 by 2. Then we add the products. Okay, so this is what we're doing here, is we're taking this 12, and in order to make it a little bit easier for us, and something that we could probably do in our heads, is that we split up 12 to 10 plus 2, okay, and that's what it is here. So now that we have 10 plus 2, I basically multiply 43 by 10 and 2 times 43, and what we have is 430 plus 86. And that's what we have here, and we find that our sum, the quotient of this is 516. When we multiply it by a two-digit number, we do not need to separate the problem into two problems before we start. Okay, so let's go to example number 1. So we have 43 times 12. First, we multiply 43 by the 2 of the 12. Then we get 86, and we write 86. So the 6 is in the ones column under the 2. All right. So when we're multiplying this, we're first going to do 2 times 43, and we get 86. And you have to make sure that you line up the 6 on the ones column, because that's what you're starting with for this 2. And then 8 in the tens column. Next, we multiply 43 by the 10 of the 12, which is this part right here, okay, which we get 430, which way we right below the 86. So we would write 430 right here. That's this right here, okay. Then we add 86 to 430, so we're just adding these two together, and which equals 516. The numbers 86 and 430, these are called partial products, okay? So it's only part of your solution. It's just a part of the multiplication problem. So these are the products of the 2, and then this one's the product of the 10. So this is partial products. The number 516 is the final product, and below are two ways we can show our work. So we can show it like this, or if you just want to scoot it over, what we did here is 41 times 43, and we scooted over and just left a blank space for the 0. I would suggest putting the 0 in there so you don't mess up by mistake, but you don't necessarily need to. The real thing that you need is this 516. Some people do not write the trailing 0 at the second partial product. In the method on the right, the 0 is from 430 is omitted from the second partial product. We begin writing the partial products one place to the left the 43 means 43 tens. So this is just 43 tens. And we're just taking that 0 out. Now in example number 2, a restaurant chain purchased 95 pounds of potatoes for each of its 26 locations. About how many pounds of potatoes were purchased altogether? We are not asked for an exact number, so we can estimate this. So it says about. That's the key word in here. You must read the questions because it'll tell you what kind of answer they're looking for. When we have about, that means we're going to estimate these things, okay? So if we round 95 up to 100, that'd be great because since we have this 5 here in the one spot, we could round this 10 off to the 100, all right? And then we're going to round 26 to 30, okay? So we're just going to go up to the next 10, which would be 30. Then we estimate the total number of pounds of potatoes is 3,000 pounds because you have 100 times 30, which would be 3,000 pounds. Now write the estimated amount of potatoes as a fraction part of a ton. Hint, 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. If you guys can write this estimated amount as a fractional part of a ton, I'll give you some dojo points and maybe Miss Cooley will give you some Eagle Bucks. All right, example number 3. At 35 cents each, what is the cost of 2 dozen pencils? So first we're gonna multiply 35 cents by 24. We ignore the dollar sign and the decimal point until we have the final product. Okay, so don't worry about the dollar sign or decimal point until you have the final product. After you do the multiplication algorithm, then you put in the decimal point. Since we multiplied cents, we show cents in the final product by placing the decimal point so there are 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. All right, so after we get our final product, which is 840, since we're using cents and dollars, you go 2 spaces from the right and then put in your decimal point. Okay, easy way to look at it is you count the decimal spots from the top. There's 2 spaces that I have, therefore I'm going to put 2 spaces right here. All right, so our final total is $8.40. All right, now I'm going to show you what the distributive property looks like, okay? And so what we have here is we have 25 times 12, okay? So there's 2 choices we could do. We could do it this way or this way or this way. If we do it this way, it would be 25 times 12 because we have to do parentheses first. We do 10 plus 2 is 12, and we're gonna times that by 25. But because of the distributive property, what we can do is we're gonna just do this 25 times 10 and then 25 times 2, then add them together. This way you don't really have to work out the whole problem like in a regular 2-digit multiplication. What you can do is just do 25 times 10, and you know what we've taught you is that you just have to add the 0 onto that 25, and that would be 250, right? So if this one's 250 and then 25 times 2, that's easy. 2 quarters is 50 cents. So 25 times 2 would be 50. Now you add 250 plus 50 equals 300. All right. Or you could work it out the long way, like we did in example number 3 or example number 2. Okay. So this way, when you do it this way, it's called the distributive property. All right. Anyway, here's example number 4. Benito wants to multiply 35 by 20 plus 4, and they're going to use the distributive property in the solution. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to do 35 times 20 and 35 times 4, and then you're going to add them together. All right, it's basically there's 2 choices you could do: 35 times 24, or you do this 35 times 20 plus 35 times 4. Remember, this is the distributive property. All right. Notice that 700 and 140 appear as partial products in both methods. See, 140 is kind of the same thing. All right. And that is showing the distributive property. And you get 840 after doing the multiplication algorithm. All right, here is your lesson practice, A through F. Now, if you want to do the distributive property on any of these things, you can. Just make sure that you do it correctly. If you're gonna split 12 into 10 and 2. Remember, you're gonna have to add the partial products together from 10 times 32 and 2 times 32. All right. Um, write any questions that you have down on the back, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.